What do you think makes a meaningful career?
What is the difference? Why you prefer coaching over mentoring? How do we distinguish ourselves from the pack? If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. You know?
And oftentimes our hands have to get dirty. What could be the best outcome for this situation? I'm Michael.
I'm Regine.
And this is Gears in Motion.
Continuing with our conversation from last time.
One of the things that I heard in your response, which I loved, is you learned how to apologize. I don't understand why corporate America does not understand that concept. That is like basic human interaction. You do something wrong, you own up for it, and you just apologize. And it was great to hear how sacrificial your manager, your mentor was, and even shielding and taking the fall for some of the mistakes that occurred. I mean, that takes a huge dose of humility. But then the other thing, even more, that really is predicated, that your apology and even the system that you built, how you interacted with other employees was built on trust. Like, it wasn't just like, hey, we've got to get a job done, or hey, I like you, so therefore, I'm going to do whatever it takes. But it's like, hey, I can trust you to do your job. I can delegate when needed, and I know the difference between when more ownership is needed, more support is needed, and when things just need to change. And I wanted to talk to you about your support system, how you built that, because I think there were probably, no, you don't have to give us names, but they're probably right. There are probably people that were at your job, it sounded like, that were helpful in helping you to think through and to be supportive in your role, and you to be supportive in theirs. But then there's probably an outside of work support system as well that helped, pray for you, that helped encourage you, that helped really motivate you and help give you a different perspective. Can you talk a little bit about that support system and how you built it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think within work, it's through the rotational program, it was really easy to meet a lot of different people within my Culpeper district and outside of it. And so I had people that because I had worked with them for 1 month or a few weeks in all of these different sections, I had just met people who trusted me and who I trusted. I think that I think building relationships is not something that's been super difficult for me personally. And then maintaining those relationships, throughout my work experience while I was there, at all of our different meetings back when we were still in person, I think I just made it a point to, touch base, ask questions, and hear about the things that they were working on, and what they were doing or their perspective on things could influence what I was working on. And I think through the rotational program as well, I was exposed to a lot of our senior management. And so I was very thankful for them to be able to speak into what I was doing as well. And really, I would say one of the people that I really relied on is because, VDOT, especially in the civil engineering, the engineering sides of VDOT, there really aren't that many women. Yeah. And I think I was probably one of the only female ethnic minorities like working there at the time. And so there was a woman, though, she was on our like communications business side, like, but senior management. And so she was someone that I like really connected with and relied on for advice. And I'd, call her occasionally to ask questions and just shoot the breeze, so to speak.
Yeah.
And just built a relationship with her that I was very thankful for. And then there just in general, like if I met someone that I respected, like their thought process, how they handled situations, and their work ethic, that was always, I tried to hang around them more. And there were thankfully a lot of people like that, like even in just my residency, like the office that I worked at. And so I would like always pick their brains and just listen attentively when they spoke, really.
Yeah.
And then outside of work, I think it was definitely like a faith community. I still talk a lot with friends from college who were in like my Christian fellowship, and we definitely still support each other. So yeah, I've definitely been on the phone a lot, asking for prayer and giving prayer as well, praying for others. And I think that having that, and just in general growing in my faith even after college, and kind of letting rubber hit the road and walking out all the things that I say that I believe. And like servant leadership, like what does servant leadership actually look like when you put it in practice? And you are having to put the people that you work with ahead of yourself and really thinking about their needs before your own, and like really trying to discern like how you can support them, and build them up, lift them up on a day-to-day basis, and just working in humility, and being someone who's transparent, being someone who is patient, kind, all of those things. And sometimes you really don't see that in the workplace. But I think I had thankfully a community that was supporting me in that. And like if I like I've mentioned earlier like a lot of the HR issues that I was challenged with, and I spent so many nights crying about it, if I'm just being frank. Like I felt like I was like gonna go gray having to deal with it. And I would say that situation is definitely something where because it was, it's sensitive information, I can't talk about it with my coworkers. So I think that it was a place that I was able to like just really get support from friends, from family, asking them to pray over like what was going on, to give me like insight, godly insight or wisdom of what I can do, how I can be different to support them. Like really, really just praying that God would change hearts, because there were just some situations that it felt like nothing we did like caused any change. And so how can God do something in a place that I can't? So those times I definitely relied on like the people around me that knew me well, and that like could pray and speak into those things.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, Bethel. I think that's, you're thinking like, hey, this is my work, but this is also my faith, right? Like I'm living out exactly what I'm talking about. And it's not like as if my faith matters for one aspect of my job or matters, not for my job at all, but bringing that to bear. And then I think what you said here about how do I keep putting people first over projects. I think so many times, even though we're working on projects collaboratively, people forget like, hey, at the end of the day, we are working with people. this is a people business. Everything we do even in tech, it is a people business. And I think keeping that up at the forefront is exactly what you have to do.
You know, Bethel, you mentioned being the only woman, ethnic, minority woman when you started over at VDOT. And it struck a chord because when I started 38 years ago at the Michigan DOT, I was the only, ethnic minority woman engineer in a division of 350 people. So it is in a way sad to see that so many years later, we're still being the first, the only, and the few. And I'm hoping we can change that. However, looking at the statistics, they're not very promising. Half of the women who come into if not more than that, who actually start in engineering 10 years later, decide to change career or do something totally different. They leave the field, and many feel that the industry is a harsh environment and they really prefer to leave. So do you think that is something that would be happening to you? Do you see yourself having a long-term career in your current field? Do you, being honest and what, so that would lead me to the next question would be, what would be something that would really make you stay in the profession if that's the case? But that's already jumping ahead. I just would like for you to tell me about your own challenges also, and do you see yourself eventually saying, hey, I can do better somewhere else at a less cost?
That is a good question. So I'll I'll just say that I truly I did not expect to even stay in the field as long as I have.
It's okay, good. Yeah, we need to hear that.
Yeah.
That is we want you to be candid. Yes.
But I truly did not think that I would stay as long as I have been. I'll say for myself that isn't really because of the field in general. I think that I think I mentioned this to Mike once earlier, but I think just as I've gotten older, I've been considering ministry more personally, doing ministry in the future. And so it's not so much that like I don't like STEM and that I feel like it's harsh or like hard to kind of move up. I think it's more that I've been considering like maybe I can do something that's not I guess conventional work and like work in ministry doing either missions or something else. So that's kind of been what I've been thinking, especially recently, like I'd say in the last year. But yeah, I think for myself, I know that the things that I've really enjoyed about like my job that have led me to just really enjoy coming into work every day I think it's when I work with people who genuinely care about the services that they provide and the people that they work with. And when they genuinely want to make an impact in people's lives and look at like even just the invoices that they sign, even the little things as like taking steps every day towards this larger goal of like supporting the vision of, whatever it is, keeping Virginia moving or enhancing, transit options for like our communities. I think like even I noticed this at VDOT, but I think even more at DRPT, if it's okay for me to say that. I really feel like the people I work with at this agency genuinely like they genuinely just their hearts align with the vision of the organization, and they want to support localities. They want to support transit riders or rail riders, and they want to provide like really accessible options for people. And I really like that. And that makes me like want to continue to do a good job. So like I know back in other positions when I worked with people like of my generation, for instance, a lot of them really, like even working with the state, like they really cared about like how much they were making. And like I think that pay was like a very big factor in whether or not they would stay. But for me, I think it's kind of more like the culture and the environment and what are we working towards? What are we working for? I think the vision and like is there dialogue and just like a space for people to be open and like share their thoughts, and being willing to listen and like collectively, support a vision that everyone can back moving forward. So that's just something that I really enjoy with CRPT. And like I've only been here for 7 months, but I think that so far I really know that I want to stay here unless God calls me to do something different. But for now, like I'm really enjoying it and would like to stay for definitely at least a few years. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for being candid. Of course, no one can say no to a higher calling, but I hope in some way you can find a way to merge, the STEM, the engineering, and the ministry, because in working with people, we minister to them anyways, but also because I think your vision of leadership, being a servant leader, working with people, and really you bring so much to the industry that it would be sad to see you leave it. We need more people like you. So
thanks for saying that.
This is Regine.
This is Michael.
Until next time.